I'm in New York City and I met a Muslim and in a coffee shop, and I just started asking questions because I'm curious. And that was the beginning of a long story. But I'm from Wisconsin. They always say, go back to where you came from. I said, well, that would be Appleton, Wisconsin. I said, well, okay, where are your parents from? And I said, my grandparents, Holland and Russia, respectively. And they just looked confused. And I said, okay, I'm a convert. I converted to Islam. I chose Islam, or Islam chose me, one of those things. Started to read the Quran via my Egyptian friend and got interested and felt it was amazing and wonderful and kind of hit all the points, and the bells and whistles went off in my head. Didn't really go to look to change religions. It just happened. It just happened that way. I became Muslim all by myself, no man, no husband. Although I do have one now, because I had to go look for a good Muslim name. My husband's family lives in Jordan. He's Palestinian, don't start. His family lives in Jordan. When I go to Jordan, I sit with my mother-in-law, and there's other women sitting with us, drinking coffee, chatting, gossip. I can't tell who's the Christian and who's the Muslim sometimes. When I sit in my apartment in Jordan, I hear the church bells ring out, whether it's a wedding or it's a Sunday service. I know Christians there too. There is not a problem. We interchange. Actually, they use the same Islamic phrases we do in Arabic. If you look at the Christian Bible in Arabic, the name of God is Allah. That's the name of God in Arabic. And you will see that it's like, what? That's in the Christian Bible? Really? In Arabic? It is. They say the same things like we do. They say, Salaam alaikum. They say, Insha'Allah, God willing. MashaAllah, that's a wonderful thing Allah did for you. So we hear the same kind of phrases from both the Christian and the Muslims in our country over there. But getting back here, it's wonderful being Muslim. I'm very happy to be a hijabi Muslim. I wanted people to know my identity. I read the Quran, I thought it was fantastic. It kind of made sense of religion, made sense of history. And I wanted people to know this white face with the blue eyes is actually a Muslim. And with a hijab, I'm the walking illustration. So come and ask me, like you with the white skin and the blue eyes, what the heck with that scarf? So I love my scarf. It's who I am, it's my identity. As you see here, we have many Muslim women who are not scarfed, which shows you the flexibility of Islam. And as I believe Sophia was saying, there is no compulsion in religion. This is a very important verse in the Quran, followed by a verse that everybody reads who's Muslim. You have to know it, you have to memorize it, you read it before you go to bed, everything else. So it's very important, there is no compulsion. God doesn't need you if you don't believe. So what's this forcing stuff? As far as Sharia is concerned, it's very much like the canon law of Catholics, and it's called the halakha in Jewish terminology. And again, it's very much like ours. It's a way, it's a path. It helps us go to the courts when we have marriage, divorce, other problems and so forth with relationships. It defines our religious rituals, things like that, how we live, how we treat our neighbors, as Mustafa was saying. So it's very much the same type of thing. It's about the everyday things that Muslims do. And actually, we think about religion as not so much a religion, but a way of life. If you really follow Islam 100%, there's stuff to do in everything you do. How you go to the bathroom, what you say, what you do when you eat, when you go to visit somebody, when there's a funeral, what you say. Everything's laid out. If you want to follow it the whole 9 yards, according to Prophet Muhammad, who was the one who emulated the Quran for us and it showed us what it all meant and how to act it out, every part of our life is affected by Islam if you're a very practicing Muslim. And so it's funny for us, it's kind of ridiculous that Sharia is for us. It's not something we impose on somebody. If you live in a Muslim country, the Sharia is not imposed on Christians there. If you live in Turkey, the Sharia is not imposed on the non-Muslims there. So it's kind of funny when we hear everybody talking about, oh my God, they're going to take over and force us to wear scarves and stop drinking alcohol. It's just ridiculous. I mean, if it didn't bother us so much, is all this fury that's going on, we would just laugh and say, what the heck? It just doesn't make any sense, any more than they would apply Catholic canon to you or the Jewish law. It's the same thing. And how Sophia was saying, talk about how we have to follow the laws of this country, which is actually a verse in the Quran, which means it's really meant to be. For example, if a young couple wants to get married in Islam, they have first to go down to the local office, the local Texas government office, and apply for their marriage license. If they go to the leader of the community, the Muslim leader, he will tell them, before you come to me and I enact the marriage ceremony, I have to see that you've done this through the state. So in order to be married Islamically in the United States, you have to go and get from the state the paperwork, you do your marriage, then you go to the imam, who will follow the Sharia and how you get married Islamically. So it counts with the state of Texas and with God too. Allahu Akbar. God is great. So that's basically it. That's just one way in which that, we have to follow also the regulations of the country in which we live, unless sometimes the government comes along and say, you got to drink alcohol, you got to eat pig. Of course, those things, we're told that if you're asked to go against what God has taught you, that's wrong. And then you have to push back. But according to anything else in this country, especially in America, everybody comes here for the sake of freedom, being able to worship freely, being able to dress as we want. I've never been harassed in my hijab, honestly. I'm very fortunate. And maybe because I'm white, and maybe because I'm not very shy. I've never had any problems from anybody. And I've done a lot of interfaith and a lot of work in Dallas with interfaith communities and so forth like that. And we get invited to talks like this in churches and things like that, and synagogues. So I really haven't followed any flag, which surprises me how much the local government is against us. But again, as Brother Mostasef said, it's an agenda. They want some votes, and we got to find a boogeyman, so hello, that's us. So that's about it for me anyway. Thank you for your kind attention.